Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and you can download the Tomb Kings right now if you head on over to the Steam Workshop. It's pretty freaking sweet. A fairly large roster that they've fleshed out with, 5 infantry, one of the skeleton archers, which is cool to see an undead faction have, a couple mounted units, and a pretty big variety of beasts, to be honest. Some mummies, Ushabti, some guards, etc. But the two cool ones are the Bone Giant Archer and then the Bone Giant, who's melee specialist, and then also the Screaming Skull Catapult, which has missile projectiles, or not missile projectiles, sorry, magical projectiles. But yeah, it's a cool roster. We're going to take it out for a spin. I'm going to build a little bit of an army. Also, for thematic purposes, you should definitely take the desert map that also paired with this mod. It plays a little bit wonky, but for setting the theme, it's actually pretty cool. So anyways, I'm going to build a little bit of a composition and just play this out against the Empire. So yeah, it should be pretty fun. Definitely bring a Bone Giant, a couple of those, and try and bring at least one of every type of unit if possible. So yeah, that's about it. I think I'm going to add one more unit of, yeah, probably just some skeleton warriors. So that's it. Let's go ahead and head on over to the battle. Alright, now we're on the battlefield. You can see it definitely has the dunes and everything built into it. And now you can see my army straight up here. Let's go ahead and move it to the side, if the map will even allow me to. It looks like there's some problems navigating amongst the dunes, so I'm going to have to place this unit by unit. Let's start off with Hero Titan, looking freaking cool with his staff and globe. And he has 2 lores that he can employ. So tons of spells here. It's going to make him very deadly. The Lore of Light with some, tons of damage, and then the Lore of Death there. So I presume when he's going to be released officially, he's going to be a very powerful caster. For now, you can't really modify him, so you're kind of forced to bring all spells. And just for a sense of scale, take a look at my slaves here. Yeah, this guy is freaking monstrous. That's freaking cool. Next, I'm going to just start laying out all the other units. Skeleton Spears of Nehek. And then the warrior is going to be next to them. Pretty much the same base unit, but just obviously with swords, scimitar looking equipment. And then we can start placing some more tomb guards with halberds. So it's good to see that the vampires here have a pretty big variety. Halberds for anti-large bonuses and whatnot. And bracing. So they should be relatively versatile. And of course, a nice thing for this undead faction is the fact that they have bows. So that's going to be very useful, and you'll see me make use of it here in the battle. Also some cavalry that you can bring. Undead skeletal horses. Looking glorious. And now we're going to put the chariot up front, which seems to have elements from, obviously, chaos. And it's an assortment of other things rigged together. But looking really freaking cool. And those monstrous wheels looking pimped out as hell. Not quite sure this is desert ready. You'd think you'd want something a little lighter to move around. But hey, you're pulled by undead forces and you have magical abilities. I'm sure that can make you do anything in the desert. And then finally I have this little scarab force, the Tomb Swarm, which is cool. Little bug type unit. I think this maybe came from the Spiderling spawned by the Ragnarok Queen. I think they're even smaller though, so they must have scaled down the unit model. But you got a ton of those, 200 for good measure. Some mummies as well. They don't look particularly intimidating, but for a unit that size, I guess they're powerful. You can have the Ushabti here, which look freaking cool. Now, according to my knowledge, I think what I remember is they're supposed to have kind of like Anubis heads. In this version, they gave them kind of hawk skulls. So definitely, there's only so far you can take the mod. And then these guards of Cetra, that guy is super freaking scary. Oh my god. And I don't actually know where they got the assets for the binding to put that on top of the zombies, but it looks like I keep saying epic. I'm just blown away by the stuff the modders are able to make. And then finally here we have some of the bone giants, one with the bow, the other one with 2 swords. This is pretty cool seeing to see them all together. The bow, as you'll be seeing in the gameplay coming up, can fire pretty much like an artillery piece. Speaking of artillery pieces, you have 2 of these here, Screaming Skull catapults, which are very, very strong, and they fire magical projectiles that you'll be seeing in battle. Anyways, I'm going to deploy and start the battle here, and yeah, stay tuned and enjoy. And now we're going to have a battle where we face off against the Empire. Two bone giants here up at the front. Pretty awesome, pretty stoked to see a bone giant with a bow and arrow that fires essentially the equivalent of ballista bolts out over the battlefield. So they're going to be setting off two of these giant titans, as well as Hero Titan here. You don't get to customize him so much. He just comes with all his abilities, Lore of Life, and I believe Lore of Death, but some very cool stuff on him, tons of magical abilities. I have all of my little skeletal warriors, slaves, guardians, and whatnot, looking very cool with their flashing shields. With not necessarily the heraldry, but at least the iconography of the Tomb Kings, so they're pretty cool, and eager to see some skeletons with dexterity to have bows. I can't remember the lore reason justifying why they have bows, but no one else does. I'm sure someone can provide that in the comments. Let's get a nice view of the skeleton army pouring forward. And this is just super cool. I can't believe the modders were able to pull this off. It's going to be freaking epic. And obviously this is going to be something that we're going to see later on, officially released, but perhaps not until the second game. Meanwhile, we have my little swarming bugs. If you guys have ever seen the movies The Mummy, this is immediately what I thought of. The scarabs that will go ahead and embed themselves inside of your skin and eat you alive. That is essentially what I'm bringing to the fight. Stuff of nightmares. Over on the right side, I've just gone ahead and deployed some of my cavalry. And also one of the chariots that seems to be an adapted version of some of the Chaos chariots. They look pretty cool. I'm not sure why these handlers are also whipping the undead horses. Apparently they need even more motivation and depth. What else can we talk about? Oh yeah, the catapult here. You'll see this guy fire off some magical projectiles that look super cool. But as I push forward, we're going to be facing off against a group of the Empire. Flagellants, they're probably happy that they're going shirtless for this battle. Not going to be as lucky if you're one of the other units like the Great Swords. You're forced to come forward in full plate armor. Tons of more units also moving forward. And what they start to see in the distance is, no, that's not a mirage. You're not seeing a giant skeleton walking. Well, you don't think you see. You're actually seeing a giant skeleton walking towards you. So this is kind of a cool map for this. My guys are hidden away in the desert, and you're just starting to see the second one of my skeletons pouring forward. And this guy actually has the range of an artillery piece. So he's slowly going to be moving up. I've moved my scarabs into the skull here, just trying to get a little bit of cover. And then we can see my bowman is going to notch an arrow and fire away. We can see this thing as it takes off. Oh, and he just snipes two demigriffs with one hit there. That is freaking crazy. That is so cool. And here comes another shot. It's going to be coming in. The bone giant whiffs it there. And yeah, if you look at this closely, I believe the details... yeah, this looks like a dwarven ballista unit. So the modders here definitely reuse some of those assets, but damn, that is why it's so potent, and he's going to be sniping people left and right. I just can't get enough of this. Such a cool animation that they're able to just simply scale it up, and it works. So these dummies have no idea what they're dealing with. Meanwhile, on this front, the flagellants, who are looking forward to eagerly basking in the sun, getting their tan on. You're going to be pushing forward an army of either Bernie Sanders models or Little Sparrow, or the Sparrows models, I'm not sure. But either way, they're going to get a rude awakening on this side of the dunes. My undead horses are going to get in, and then also my scarabs are going to start to itch and get in at these guys. Their exposed flesh is going to make it that much harder, or that much easier for my little spiders to get in, crawl under their shawls, and bite at their private parts, and that's why these guys are super pissed. I pull out of this position and then charge right back in with some chariots. Easy killings. Demiges are going to try and move up, but this is where I get to start to experiment with a couple of the undead archers. I'm going to fire into this position, and yeah, like a couple of these guys are going to try and squash my bugs. We'll see how that goes as I start to rally. I'm going to pull in with some more of my undead horses, and they're going to try and pick a more satisfying target, perhaps the great swords. And then my chariots are going to continue to pull through to the center, where the enemy has now raised itself above the edges of the dunes. Boom! Only to see my magical catapult fire into their mess. So they have not witnessed this before. This is the first time I'm witnessing this. So yeah, a note to the intrepid, to the adventurers: don't come out in the desert like this. You never know what you'll find. Here comes some more artillery strikes. Boom! Straight to the great swords, plus a chariot strike. Plus, oh my god, my bone giant is still continuing to fire into this mess, and he actually has a couple buddies of his right behind. Let's watch from his perspective. And I wonder actually if he's an artillery piece, if you can press insert and actually try and manually control him. That would be really cool. I haven't tried that. Oh my god, he's just destroying these demis. And they're going to try and move forward. But now here comes the full assault. I'm going to come in with a bone giant and just start smacking them. The enemy charges straight into my undead forces, but they have a bunch of spears, and now the fight is on. More units are going to start pushing up on this flank. I have more units also going to be advancing over here. And some gunners are going to realize, oh shit, this is not where we should be. Let's go ahead and pop the HUD back on so you can see just kind of what's happening. The main engagement in the center against these demis. Lots of artillery strikes, boom, hitting everyone. Archer support, really cool to have this. Mummies pushing up. This archer also continuing to just pin those demigriff knights. Combat in the center. Meanwhile, on the side, I'm going to get some guards of Cetra into the battle here. My little bugs also attacking the flagellants, getting in under the armor of the enemy. But let's watch these units. Really cool models. I'm not sure what they pieced together for this, but it looks freaking epic. And they're going to be pretty brutal. Looks like my bugs are starting to die here. The quashing is real. Now here comes a big engagement. The hero titan is going to be in the center. A bone giant also in the mix. Getting lots of damage done. This is an epic shot. Bone giant in the foreground slicing at the enemy. My bone giant with arrows firing away. And then tons more arrows coming in. Boom! A little shot straight into here. God, this is freaking deadly. Let's watch the rest of the engagement as the undead fight. Again, this really reminds me of the movie The Mummy. But we are pretty susceptible to enemy strikes that can come in. Gonna hit some of my troops. But with all this magical abilities here, the support is just real against the enemy. My bone giant gonna clobber these guys, knock them out of the way. And yeah, some mummies kind of twitching around. Those are elite units. I'm not quite sure why. You'd think they'd be pretty slow and easy to kill. But apparently they are some pretty elite units. So we're gonna swarm over the remainder of the units. Meanwhile, on this flank, I've continued to push up with my tomb guards. The enemy musketeers are going to try and peel out of this, and amazingly the enemy actually did pop, and this is AI, did pop a net spell here, and so I'm just inches away, and so now the enemy is going to full on unload against my guys. But it's going to drop, so as soon as I realize that this is the case, I'm going to be able to retarget my guys. Over here, Bone Giant's going to be seeing them off. This is my main Bone Giant. The second one is going to be pulling up. I believe he's pretty much out of ammo. Yeah. Where did he go? He's going to be chasing off some enemies somewhere. We'll try and catch up to him. And it looks like my Guardsmen of Cetra here, cleaning up the remainder of the enemies. This is where if I had any more bugs, I would totally sick them on this unit. And this would bring them down into the depths, like dung beetles roll up their balls and their eyeballs and roll them down into the little holes where my bugs will devour them. Unfortunately, a lot of them did die. Here's my other Bone Giant. The archer out of ammo, so he's drawn his huge sword. He's be ready to fight. The enemy is kind of starting to rally. And I'm going to try and get at this mortar crew that's been firing sand, getting everywhere. I don't even know how they've been able to keep up supporting fire without clogs. Let's watch these nice mortar strikes land amongst my guys, but it's fine. Just my fodder troops. So these dudes are going to get charged. Anything with wheels also, I don't know how it's getting around. Oh, dude, look at this bannerman. That's freaking cool. I think that was taken from the zombies, but still looks freaking awesome. So that's pretty cool. Meanwhile, the Luminarch is going to say, okay, what the hell is going on here? It's going to pull up on top of the hill and realize, oh god, our entire army has been lost to the sands. And it's going to fire a blast straight into my units, deliver a pretty punishing blow. But it could have been, you know, better used in this position. My guy is busy stomping around on the Empire troops, having a field day. Doesn't want to put down his favorite globe, though. You know, he's just... Oh, there he goes. He's going to play bowling with it. That's going to see off those Empire troops. I'm going to have my Titan here cast a spell that's going to help try and punish the Empire, increase the fear penalties, and so half of them are going to start running for the hills. The rest are going to be here to stay. But their days are certainly numbered. They did get it at my catapults, but that's fine. The battle is pretty much over at this point. Some final silver bullet handgunners firing away at my archers. I was trying to duel with them. My Bone Giant is now going to come back and try and deal with the enemy's center, and it is pretty much all but collapsing. The Luminarch here is going to pull off with, here comes the pretty awesome shot of my Bone Giant behind giving chase. And if he had one arrow left, this would be the opportune moment. Imagine this. As the Luminarch is pulling off, he whips out his bow, fires a shot, and it could pierce right through this guy. The arrow embedding his chest straight, and, you know, shoot him right through the glass. And have this whole thing embedded in the sands. So yeah, pretty cool battle, interesting map with the dunes here, thematic of course for playing with the Tomb Kings. I do have to say they play pretty awesomely. Of course the units aren't all balanced or tested, you can't have necessarily all the heroes that you would want and equip them the way that you want, but I mean come on, who's complaining that the modders were able to bring the Tomb Kings way in advance? And yeah, I do have to say the Bone Giants were freaking cool. I was very excited about that, even the little mummies running about. Those guys were fun, and I will have to do a custom scenario soon with just like an army of nothing but bugs and recreate a scene from the Mummy. But anyways, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more, and definitely keep refreshing the mod workshop. There is a ton of new stuff coming out all the time. That's where I found this mod. So yeah, see you in the next one. Peace out.